Hey Warren, this is a quick little view on dplane, just a little something to talk about what the numbers are and what they mean in terms of launch conditions. So if we got Camilo Villegas here, and I'm going to use Camilo because I had him on the flight scope at the Canadian Open, so I do know his numbers. Um, Here we can see on the left from face on as he strikes this golf ball. If we were to just designate a line even with the ground, parallel with the ground where the tee height is, we'll call that 0. Um, One thing that Camilo does very well with his driver is that he hits this driver on its way up. So his angle of attack is 1 degree up on the golf ball. He delivers about 10 degrees of loft on his driver. That 10 degrees of loft on his driver would set your dynamic loft, the top variable of the D-plane itself. So you've got the dynamic loft here in the green and the angle of attack in the red. The difference right there would be roughly 8 degrees. That 8 degrees is what's called spin loft. Spin loft, when that's minimized, the spin is minimized. When the spin loft is maximized, that's when you get the most spin. So you can see that if I had a wedge and I managed to get that wedge up here to 53 degrees with 1 degree angle of attack, I have 52 degrees of spin loft. That would spin a fair amount. So therefore, if I have a green line here demonstrating the dynamic loft and I have the red line demonstrating my angle of attack of the golf club hitting up, my launch angle will be somewhere around here, somewhere in the middle, or somewhere in between these two. I'm not going to say middle, but closer to the top vector, the green one. He had a 10-degree driver measured by TaylorMade. I delivered that ball at about 10, maybe 10.5 degrees dynamic loft, sometimes 11, and the yellow line represented his launch angle. His launch angle was 8.9, almost, 80% of the time. So those are the numbers from that perspective. When we're looking to reduce the amount of spin, we're looking to get this gator mouth here, this Pac-Man mouth. We're trying to reduce it, make it smaller. The top line is your dynamic loft. The bottom line is your angle of attack. So if you wanted to hit the ball with the least amount of spin, you could hit up on the ball 5 degrees, de-loft your 10-degree driver by 5 degrees, and you would hit the ball with a very small spin loft, about 5. Even though you're still going to launch the ball at 10 degrees, you're going to have a 5-degree spin loft. So that's how you look at spin loft from that perspective. When I look at the swing sequence on the right, the D-plane itself is formed somewhere around where this golf club is here, and this line down and toward the golf ball here would just represent your vertical swing plane of the driver, the angle in relation to the ground. I should put that in here. So there's the ground, and Camilo hits a ball flight that starts a touch to the right and draws a little bit left of his target line. So if I were to show you his launch right here from the tee through the ball, that would be his launch angle, which would be going a little bit right of target line. So his target line is probably right about there. Camilo's numbers as he comes into this golf ball, as we can see this club head, it gets delivered into the golf ball right there, and I'll be dramatic with this. His path into the golf ball is about 1 degree to the right. Sometimes up to 2 degrees to the right. So when he's swinging into that golf ball, it's swinging inside out 2 degrees to the right in relation to this black line I showed you here. So that would be his path right there. And I'm going to exaggerate it. I'll put it out here a little bit, but that's his path out to the right. And then if I were to look at how the face angle for his golf shot would be pointed somewhere between his target line and the path. So his club face would be pointed somewhere around there, in the vicinity of that launch line, that launch angle. Because wherever the club face is pointed, that's where the golf ball is going to be launched towards. It's the projection. It projects the golf ball. So if that's his target line and his path was sent out to the right, there's a good chance that his club face angle was just inside this launch line, because it represents about 80% of the initial launch. The path represents a little bit, so the path has to send it out a little bit to the right as well. So if we take a look at these lines, even though they're fairly close together, we've got the club head moving out to the right 2 degrees, represented by the red line. You've got the launch angle of the ball projecting with the orange line So therefore, the face must be a little bit inside that, but open or pointed right to your target line. Notice how all of these things are to the right of the target line. Nothing has rolled over, nothing points left. There's no club face release, toe passing the heel, none of that. This club face is pointed to the right of the target line that he sets up, and he swings even more to the right of that. So when we look at a golf ball in terms of how it spins, if we take a golf ball right here, and that golf ball will spin on an axis backwards only. It will only spin backwards in that direction. So that's a well-struck shot. That shot right there where the ball spins completely backwards, just like that, that's where the club face matches the path. So whether that path is left or right, as long as the club face and path match up to form a 90-degree relationship, the ball will have no curvature and therefore only spin backwards. However, when the face and the path don't match up, like in this scenario right here, if you look at the path of the club being the red and the face of the club being the blue, we can see that that would form a bit of a plane representing the D-plane. So that ball is flying out. Now it's a bit of an angle here, but if the golf ball relates itself to that plane, that means that that golf ball had a spin, an axis, tilted a little bit downward this way. So let me explain that. So if this path is going out to the right, more out than where the club face is pointed, as long as the path is going more out than where the club face is pointed, what we can get is a golf ball that curves to the left. It will create a draw. I don't think anyone's ever argued that. If the face is close to the path, it's going to create a draw. But the ball doesn't have side spin. What it does is in this relationship here with a right-handed golfer, a draw would tilt the axis of the golf ball, given how the impact conditions and the collision happens. It would tilt the axis of this golf ball. So now from here, this golf ball is spinning that way, backwards, however tilted. And so when that ball is tilted like that, it'll curve back to the left. Now, when I witnessed 16 to 20 shots, Camilla would always have this ball curving a little bit left of his target line. But that's the shot that he wanted to see. That's the shot he wanted to hit. He wanted a 2,500 spin rate at a 9-degree launch angle, and he wanted the path just a little bit out to the right. He wasn't concerned with whether the ball was moving up or the club was moving up or down. He was not concerned with the launch angle or the angle of attack of this golf club. He was concerned with, was the path inside out, and did I hit the middle of the club face? His ball speed was 166.5 when he missed it, and he missed it a little bit toward the heel. However, when he hit it very solid, his ball speed went up to 168, and that's given about 109 to 111 swing speed. So he maxed out his smash factor at 1.49 to 1.5 every single time. And that smash factor is a relationship between how much ball speed there was versus how much club speed there was. So if my smash factor is 1.5, the highest it could possibly be, that means that I had 150 ball speed produced by 100 mile/hour club speed. So therefore, I max out my effort, my efficiency. If you get more ball speed from that, the driver might not be legal. So that's your smash factor. Those are your common terms for your D-plane and for your numbers for flight scope. If you kind of go through this, listen to this again, kind of get an understanding of how the D-plane is formed here with the launch conditions in terms of launch angle, spin rates, and over here in terms of the curvature. I think you'll get an understanding of how the D-plane is present on every single shot. And when you understand the solid collision that we're talking about right here, we can get into gear effect to where the ball hits the heel, the toe, the top of the club, or the bottom of the club. Because the driver has some bulge and some roll, the ball can produce some funky shots. So sometimes, good delivery with the golf club, but the ball struck off the toe, produce a big hook. Struck off the heel, produce a fade. I think that golfers are fine-tuning now to make sure they get the right length of club, the right loft of club, the right look of down at the club face, the right angle of it, to make sure they hit the center of the club face to max out the ball speed. And from there, they play the shot.